The current title of this video is Email Problem with SMTP and XM. I had a problem when I was following the directions in the BtB, PHP course, BtB. During those videos about using the PHP mail function, I was told by the course that they were unreliable because they don't use the currently new method of using directly contacting the SMTP server. And I was told that probably using the mail function in PHP would not be working for me. However, I believe it should be working for me because the course material was made in 2008. And when I set up my virtual machine, I used material from a course that was more recent. In that course, we were not using SendMail, we were using XM as the mail transfer agent. And with XM, it allows us to use what is called a smart host. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, a smart host. What this smart host thing does is exactly what the course is talking about, which is contacting and authenticating directly with an SMTP server. So, the question is, why wasn't I able to send mail from my virtual machine, whether on the command line or by the simple rudimentary mail command in PHP? The reason was not anything that was wrong necessarily with my configuration, although I did go ahead and change that configuration. I'll tell you exactly what the problem was. The problem was that Google Gmail, and that's the SMTP server I was using, was one of Google's Gmail SMTP servers. These days, they have a new feature for killing spam. Basically, this feature is where they only allow, that's if it is enabled, if you enable this feature, because you can disable it, okay? Okay, but if this feature is enabled, what it does is it prevents any mail agent, which is called an MTA, a mail transfer agent, which is something like Outlook or, the GUI app for mail on your Mac. I don't know what it's called. It's, okay? Let's just say Outlook, okay? Let's say you have Outlook on your computer, okay? And you set up your email account so that you can send and receive mail from there, okay? That's what an MTA is, a mail transfer agent. It's something which sends your mail to an SMTP server. But the MTA itself is not an SMTP server. Okay, so let's get back to here what the feature for spam killing that Google has. Google, if it's enabled this feature, will prevent any non-smart MTA from sending email. In other words, if you use something, I don't know if Outlook is considered smart or not, but if it wasn't, and apparently SendMail, for example, is a good example of what's not considered a smart MTA. Or if you downloaded or had a really old mail application on your computer, that's not considered a smart MTA. Okay, so back to the feature. Google SMTP servers these days, if this feature is enabled, will prevent non-smart MTAs from sending email. It'll just block it. And even XM 4 is not considered a smart MTA. Okay, and my virtual machine has Ubuntu on it, and instead of SendMail, it's using XM4, and that's not considered a smart MTA. So as long as that Google feature is enabled, and I'm trying to use Google's SMTP servers to send my mail, that Google SMTP server is going to block the mail being sent from my XM because it considers XM to not be a smart MTA. So how did I solve this problem? One thing I could have done is go into my Gmail settings for schoolbuscompany@gmail.com and tell it that I want to disable this feature. I want to be able to have my account accepted on SMTP servers even if the mail transfer agent, the MTA, is not a smart MTA that's trying to send that email. Okay, I could have went and done that. I could have disabled that feature in my Gmail account for schoolbuscompany@gmail.com, but I didn't do that. What I did instead is I set up XM with the smart host, which is an SMTP server, and it's still a Gmail a Google SMTP server, but now I'm having it use my Google Apps for Work email, which is superuser@buscompanyx.com, instead of my regular Gmail account. And as of now, that account, which is the Google Apps for Work email account that I have, is not configured to use the Google feature which blocks non-smart MTAs from sending mail directly to Google's SMTP server. Okay, so now that's how I got it to work. I hope that's helpful and makes sense.